Welcome to Mini Quiz Monday with Gamonal Tutors. Each week, we bring you quick, fun challenges to help you get one step closer to dominating the ASVAB. Don't forget to check out more study resources at gamonaltutors.com, and be sure to tune in to the ASVAB Domination podcast for more tips and strategies to crush your ASVAB exam.
Welcome to Mini Quiz Monday, guys. I'm dropping mini quizzes every Monday. And in this session with one of my students, you can see the videos of how to get the right answers. Happy studying out there, and remember to be kind to yourself and treat yourself as a learner. All right, take care, guys. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, math is usually everybody's biggest struggle. And then why do you think you're second guessing yourself?
Because it's like I'll know how to do something, but I'll mess up on a step and then it would throw off the whole problem.
Yeah, that happens, right? A lot of times, like, there's going to be and we'll see it today. We'll do some practice math questions, and you'll see there's a lot of simple mistakes that you can make where you could get thrown off, right? And a lot of the A, B, C, D, like those multiple choice questions, the way that they're written is A might be the right answer, but B is the right answer if you do the wrong process. And so they're trying to get you to make those mistakes. And so usually with my students, the reason that you're second guessing is because you're not exactly confident on which step to take next, because then you're left with, well, it could be B, but it could also be C.
Yes.
Cool. Then yeah, we'll get some practice with that. We're just going to do some general stuff. I got 3 math questions, 2 English questions that I put up on my Instagram today, and I was planning on recording something for them later anyway. So I'm just going to burn through those. Did you have any specific questions that you wanted to cover before we dig into those?
No.
You want to start with English or math?
English.
All right, sweet. We'll take it easy and do some English to begin. Well, here, actually, I'll make this bigger. So can you tell what type of question this is from which subtest?
Mm-mm.
So this one's going to be from paragraph comprehension. And the way you can tell, I mean, I guess all of the questions do kind of look like this. A lot of times you'll see paragraphs, especially on like general science and those other ones. But this one's definitely a paragraph comprehension one. Let's do the word knowledge one. There we go. All right. So the way that this is going to play out is I'm going to give you only have about 1 minute per word knowledge question because there's only 15 questions. And this will give you an idea of how much time you have per question. And so it's not like you should be thinking about this while you're taking your test, but while you're studying for your test, it helps to think, okay, how much time should I be taking for each question? And so that way you can kind of set a timer and get a good gauge. Do you ever feel like you're running out of time when you're taking the test yourself?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, this will let you know, this is the rhythm that we want to maintain as we go through these questions. So if we're looking at word knowledge, you only have 40 seconds per question, right? So 40 seconds per question, then I will start the timer right when you see it because you don't really get time to like stop and think there. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And that's it.
D.
D. Awesome. All right. So D. Cool. Do you want to make another guess? Or do you feel confident that it's D?
No, I just leave it as D.
Okay, cool. So go ahead and read that out, please.
Choose the word that most nearly means advisory.
Perfect. Awesome. So the way that you're reading it is like this. And you're looking at the word advisor. But this is a different word. It actually says, do you want to try to sound it out?
Ad- Advisory.
There's no I's here. right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't say advisory, what do you think it says?
Adversary.
Yeah, adverse. The emphasis is on the sary part. It's adversary, but you're right. It's adversary-ish. But usually the way you'd say it is adversary. So, given that it's not advisory, right? And advisory could be a supporter. So I want you to know that you are kind of right. This is just like we talked about with the math part, where you might get the right answer to the wrong question. Given that it's not advisory, but adversary, do you still think supporter?
I still think supporter.
And so this is a really good example of all the word knowledge questions. What you always want to be on the lookout for is opposites, especially in the answers. Do you see any words that are opposite each other in A, B, C, or D?
C and D are opposite.
Yep, C and D. Do you see any synonyms?
Friend and supporter.
Yep, friend and supporter are the same.
An enemy.
Cool. So that would be the opposite as well. It's like the opposite of friend.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to go through, we're going to define all of these. So the way that I would teach you to handle this kind of a question is to write the word.
Yes.
Outstanding. Word, def, and then meaning. I used to teach this. I would say the simplest term. And then somebody was like, oh, you mean the meaning, which is pretty clever because a meaning is easier than simplest term. So she like simplified my simplification, which was pretty cool. But yeah, we're going to start with this word. We're going to start with adversary. And then we're going to find the definition of it. Adversary. There we go. Definition.
Adversary.
Cool. So it says adversary, opponent, rival, enemy, foe, nemesis, antagonist, combatant. Those are synonyms to that word. But can you read the definition for me, please?
One's opponent in a contest, conflict, or dispute.
Perfect. Oh, is it 2 P's or 1? 2 P's. Now, the meaning is going to be unique to you. So what you want to think of is what's the easiest way for you to remember adversary. And if it's one of these synonyms, rival, opponent, enemy, foe, nemesis, antagonist, then that's fine. Or if it's somebody you know, right? Let's say like I really hate this kid Zach. I can't stand him. He's my enemy. Then I would write Zach here, and I would remember. And you remember it better because it's related to your life. Like I hate that person, right? And so then you can think, okay, that's my enemy, right? But did you have a meaning that works best for you?
I would probably remember it best by opponent.
All right. And so now what we would do is we'd go through and figure out the rest. There we go. Ally, friend, opponent, supporter. Ally, supporter, friend, opponent. You probably know what the right answer is now, right?
Yes.
Cool. So which one is the right answer?
Opponent.
Perfect. Good job. So C is the right answer. And so you would never take this much time doing this type of a question, but studying it is worth the time because you can actually learn more than one word from one question. So for instance, ally and friend and supporter, all 3 of these are very, very similar. Ally, and what I would recommend is going through and finding the definition for each of these words so that you have a bigger vocabulary, and that's going to be what helps you ultimately on the word knowledge. And so our allied forces are going to be like Great Britain, Canada. Those are the forces that go to war when the United States goes to war, or allies with other countries. So those are people that work together. There's also a really popular term now of allies who, like, if you're an ally for the LGBTQ community, that means that you support people who have that life, right? And so an ally supports that and lets other people know, hey, I'm someone who supports that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sweet. So now you see that word ally, and now it's going to kind of stick with you a little bit better. How about a supporter? What does a supporter mean to you?
Someone who supports, someone who supports something you're doing, like who's there for you.
Yeah, perfect. There for you. I like there for you better, right? Because we don't really want to use the same word in the definition if we can help it. So someone who's there for you. A friend is going to be very similar, right? So all three of these are similar, and this is the opposite. So whenever you see a question, a word knowledge question, where there's one opposite word, take a second look at it. It's not always going to be the right answer, but a lot of times it will be. So it's worth looking twice. If you see opposites in A, B, C, D, look twice at the opposites because one of those is probably right.
Okay.
All right. Questions from this at all?
No.
Perfect. Cool. Let's move on. This is a paragraph comprehension question. This is what we were going to start with earlier. There we go. Now, before we get into this one, I want to tell you how you should read paragraph comprehension questions. You should always start with the question.
Always start with a question.
Yep. Don't start by reading all this. Always read the question and then skim the answers. You would want to start with this part first. This part is the question and the answers first. And now you can look at the paragraph now with more intentionality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you're looking for an answer, now you can read it with that critical eye and have a better chance.
Okay. Because I always used to read the paragraph first.
Yeah, don't do that. So over here is where we're going to keep some notes. Okay. So I'm going to say WK, you want to create a word bank. And that's what this is. This is a word bank. It's got the word, the definition, and the meaning. And then for PC, you want to start with question. And then read the paragraph. But you read it with intentionally. So you're reading it on purpose, right? You're reading it looking for an answer rather than just reading it for fun and then coming to the question and then going back.
Okay.
Good. Cool. Can you tell from this picture? It might be hard to tell. Can you tell how much time you have per paragraph comprehension question?
2 minutes and 40 seconds.
How about for word knowledge?
Was it 40 seconds?
Yep. All right. So 2 minutes, 40 seconds, all the time in the world. That should help you not to feel like you have to rush. Right. So I'm going to time you. You're going to have to tell me to switch between these two screens. This is the paragraph part. This is the question answer part. All right. Are you ready?
Okay. So,
Where do you want to start?
the question.
And again, I'd encourage you to read it out loud. Even if you're taking the test, you should read it out loud to yourself, like quietly.
According to the passage, what caused the Grand Canyon to fall?
Okay. And let me know when you're ready to go to the other one.
I'm ready. So,
And I can switch it back too.
you switch it back.
Yep. Yeah, of course. So we're waiting for your answer.
I think it's B.
B is right. Good job. Now, this one's not super duper difficult, but you got it exactly right. So great job. Um, can you point, and obviously I can't see where you would point, but could you point to where that answer is?
The third line carved by the Colorado River.
Perfect. This is one of those questions. And there's other questions. There's like implied questions where you kind of got to see things that are said without being said. But this is one of those questions that exactly says where it came from. And so that's why I have the question listed here, is so that you can look at that question and see, according to the passage, what caused the Grand Canyon to form. You could read through it. And then if you already are thinking, well, it's probably the Colorado River, and you come over here and you see Colorado River, you're twice as confident in your answer.
Yeah, that helped.
Mhm. Yeah, you did great. Next question. Do you remember how long you have? How much extra time that gives you?
33 seconds.
33 extra seconds. That's right. And so what's cool about that is as you finish questions early, you save yourself more time down the road. So if this was your first question on the test, on the second question, you have an extra 30 seconds, which is going to push you over 3 minutes, right? The faster you can feel confident in those answers and know that you're right and move on to the next one, the better. Any questions on this?
No.
All right, now let's get to the math. This is what we're dreading, right? So let's get into it. The triangle question is my favorite, so we're going to save that one for the last. Algebra is not too shabby. And then this one's kind of an arithmetic reasoning type of question where it talks about rates. So algebra or rates, which do you prefer?
It doesn't matter because I need help on both.
All right, cool. No worries. Let's start with this one. So how much time do we have? And these could both of these questions could qualify as either math knowledge or arithmetic reasoning questions. But how much time do we have for, we'll say, MK?
1 minute and 30 seconds.
That's right. Perfect. So I'm going to time you. And don't worry. I expect you not to do that well here. Just kind of relax and give it your best shot. You don't have to have any stress, okay?
Okay.
All right. And go.
Would it be B?
Yeah. What did you think of this question?
That one wasn't that hard.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy one as well. But you did great. Now, 32 seconds, that means you give yourself an entire freaking minute, right, on that next question. So now if the next question you come into is this rate question that we're a little nervous about, you can relax because you have that extra minute to work with. Go ahead and tell me how you solve this one. So first thing I'm always going to recommend is writing down the question. And how did it go from here?
I multiply. Well, I just know the X, you have to multiply
Okay.
by, and whatever next to 3, you have to multiply. So I
Yep.
just multiplied 4 times 3, and it was 12. And then I added 5, and then it equals 17.
Perfect. Now, your classic math teacher is going to be upset because the way you should have done it was subtract 5 from both sides, figure this out to be 12, and then divide both sides by 3. I'm not your classic math teacher in this sense, right? I'm just teaching you to do really well on this test. And so the reason that it's okay that you just went through and back solved it is because you're much better off using that. Going through this whole system isn't necessarily going to help you on this test. The way that you solved it is what's called back solving. And back solving helps everybody on this test. So using the answers as clues to find the right answer is going to save you a ton of time and a ton of like stress, mental stress. After you plugged 4 in and figured out, okay, X has to be 4, you knew 100% that you were correct. And that is the best way to solve this question. So you did great. I want to talk a little bit about plugging in the other types of answers. So you start with the question, which you still should do. Even if you do just back solve, you should still write the question so you can at least look at it. And you don't know what you want to put in here under the 3 times what, right?
Okay.
Let's assume you picked the wrong thing.
3,
Perfect. And so you plug in a 3. What is 3 times 3?
9,
Plus 5?
14.
Perfect. And that didn't take any time, right? That maybe took another 15, 20 seconds. And the reason it took longer is because you had to explain it to me. But this is the type of question where back solving saves you a ton of freaking time. Now, given that 3 is wrong, can we tell with this 14 if we need a bigger number or a lower number?
Need a bigger.
Perfect. And so that's going to help you with back solving too. You want to guess with the wrong answer. The thing that people get into trouble on the math knowledge test is they'll guess the wrong answer and then they'll feel stuck. But try to use it being the wrong answer to see whatever one's next. And so don't just go randomly up or down. Decide which one makes more sense. Should I go up or should I go? Make sense?
Yes.
And same thing with the 5, right? What happens if we plug a 5 in for this equation? What do we get? Perfect. Yep. And so you don't have to write it all the way out, but if you're stuck, you should always write things out and you would get 20.
Yes.
And so I don't even need to solve with a 4. I know that it has to be right because I can eliminate 6 right away. It would be too big.
Yeah.
6 would give you 23 just for the sake of argument, right? 3 times 6 is 18 plus 5, 23, which is still too big. So we'd get rid of that one. And we know that it has to be 4. Great job. Questions on this question?
No.
And this is all algebra questions. So anytime you see that X, and sometimes you'll see weird ones, right? With like X plus X minus 5 and like trying to figure out what you're going to do here. You can always start with the answer and see if it works. And I would always encourage you to do that for sure. And then we'll save the triangle one for last. So we're almost there. The rates. We're going to call this arithmetic reasoning. How long do you get for an arithmetic reasoning question?
Does it say 3 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and 40 seconds?
Yeah, good job. So you get the most time of any of these questions is going to be your arithmetic reasoning. So what that means, and a lot of people fail their arithmetic reasoning because there's so much time and it's all built like this. Big paragraphs with a couple of numbers and they get lost. So with arithmetic reasoning, 3 minutes, 40 seconds, just remember to take your time. Your mark,
Okay.
get set, go. What do you think of this question?
I was confused at first, but then I understood it.
Cool. And that's kind of where you want to go, right? That's kind of where you want to be. Because if you haven't been performing as well on this test, you have to assume that the question's going to be a little confusing at first. So you kind of want to be comfortable in that confusion because a lot of questions you're not going to know what to do right away. So most students, the mistake they make is when they don't know what to do right away, they just guess. So the fact that you kind of stuck with it and tried to figure it out is a really good sign. What did you do to solve this question?
I mul- um First I divided 180 by 40, which that didn't work. So then I multiplied 45 times 4 and it gave me 180.
Perfect. Cool. So again, this is back solving, right? And so back solving is going to save you a ton of trouble on this question. Remember, one of the answers has to be right. Now, 180 divided by 40 is not quite right, but 180 divided by 4 is how a math teacher would tell you to solve this. You divide the distance by the time, okay? Out here, we say miles per hour, right? So miles is distance, per is divide, and hour is time. So you take the distance over the time and divide. That's how you would classically do this. Back solving is a great way to do it because you actually start with the answer and see if it works. Again, it's worth it to talk about if you get the wrong answer. So let's say we tried 50 times 4. Can you tell me what that would give you?
200.
Sweet. And pick, like, that's the other thing with back solving. Pick the easy answers. So what about 40 times 4? What's that give you?
40 times 160.
And so neither of these are right, but one's too big and one's too small. So what does that mean?
That 45 would have to be the answer.
The answer has to be in the middle. Exactly. So pick the easy answers, back solve that way is a great idea. But the way you're supposed to do this, 180 divided by 4. And this is where students, because students hate to divide, they feel like they can't. So what I always tell my younger students is top dog gets the house. So in this case, which of these is the top dog?
180.
That's right. And he gets his house and we put the 4 outside. All right. Now you work from left to right the same way that you read. First question you should ask yourself is how many times does 4 fit into 1?
It can't.
4 won't fit into 1, but it will fit into 18. How many times will how many 4s will go into 18?
4.
That's right.
16.
16. And what is my remainder?
2.
Perfect. What do I do next?
Bring the 0 down.
Now, the next question I ask myself is how many 4s go into 20?
4.
4 times 4 is
16.
with a remainder of
4.
one more 4 would have fit then, right?
Yeah.
How many times does 4 go into 20?
5.
5.
20.
And 20 minus 20, what's my remainder?
0.
0.
Yeah, I would have messed up.
Mhm.
That's part.
Yep. And that's okay. The way that you solved it is better because you're less likely to make mistakes. But it's so valuable to know the right way to do it as well so that you can get that practice. And once you know the right way to do every question, you're never going to run into a question you don't know what to do with.
It helps.
Good. Yeah, you did well. A lot of times on a lot of rates, time is going to be the denominator, right? It's either dollars per hour, miles per hour, kilometers per hour, or distance per second, right? Time is usually going to be your denominator. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Questions on this question?
No.
Perfect. Cool. Last one. All right. Triangles. This is my favorite one. This is the one I'm looking forward to most. Do you want to call this an arithmetic reasoning or a math knowledge question?
Um, Math knowledge.
See, I'd call it arithmetic reasoning so you get more time. But either way, I'm going to time you, and we'll just decide after you guess which time you got. So on your mark, get set, go.
Would it be C?
Good job. So 30 seconds, and your guess is C, and you're right. How'd you know?
I multiplied 10 times 5,
Yeah.
and I got 50.
Okay. But why didn't you, oh, that is C. You're incorrect. Sorry. My bad. This is the right answer. 25 is right. Now, area of a triangle. You don't know the formula for area of a triangle. That's why you got this answer wrong. If you know the formula, you'll get it right. Base times height. So 1/2 base times height. Now, the reason this is true is what makes this question super cool. All triangles, every triangle you can think of, let me do some weird triangles. Every single triangle is going to be half of the rectangle that it's in. So this takes up half the space of the rectangle. So the area of a rectangle is base times height. And so we'll say this is 3 by 2. If you cut it up into little pieces, you can see that that's 6 pieces. 3 times 2 equals 6. Right? But you can see there's 6 square inches here. And so triangles are half of that. They're half of whatever rectangle.
Okay.
And so as long as you memorize the formula, you're fine. But it's kind of cool to know where the formula comes from. It's you take the base and the height, and it literally takes up half of that rectangle. Even this one that looks kind of crazy, you would take that and you would be able to see, okay, that's still half of the rectangle that it could have been, right?
Okay. I understand it better.
Good. Yeah. And so let's erase all this. Go ahead. You were exactly right. 5 times 10 equals 50. But that would be the area of a rectangle with a base of 10 and a height of 5 inches. So I would still encourage you, even on this type of question where you know the formula, you know the answer now too, I would still encourage you to actually draw it. So draw a triangle and be like, okay, well, this has to be half the size. So I'll make this part twice as long and make this part half as long. And we'll say that this is 10. And you can still see that that takes up half of the actual rectangle. This is a 50 square foot rectangle. And what's half of 50?
25.
It's a 25 square foot triangle. We'll say 10. Questions here?
No, I understand it better now.
Good. Yeah, you did well. That I'm always surprised by how teachers don't typically teach the reason or the way the area works. if you have a 6 by 24 rectangle, it's actually 24 times 6 squares, right? So it's going to be that much space is how much it takes up. So one thing that may be worth writing down is that area is actually over here. Area is the space. A shape takes. Perimeter is the distance around the shape. Now, to solve for area, you use multiplication, which is why we did that 3 times 6 or 6 times 24, whatever it is. And for the distance, you're going to add. And so if I did another rectangle, we'll call this 10 by 5. Can you tell me the perimeter and the area of this rectangle?
So would the perimeter be 50?
Uh, is it 50
And
inches around it?
wait, you add the
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're going to add for perimeter.
so would it be 15?
Nope. You have to add all the sides. 5 and 10 are just two sides of my rectangle. I need all of the sides added together to figure out. Because 15 would only get me halfway around this rectangle. If I walk 15 feet, I'm only halfway around. I got to get all the way around for the perimeter.
So would it be 30?
It would be 30. And so you add all of those up, and that's where you get that 30. How about the area now?
And you multiply that. You would multiply 10 times 5,
Yep. And what do you get?
50.
50.
I get those two confused.
Yep. Yeah. Don't anymore. So just get practice with it. Remember that it's the space that it takes up for the area, right? Area is space. And then like in the military, they say form a perimeter. That means create some circle where it's a boundary. It's about the line. But for the area, I want to show you that 5 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You see how that's five layers of cake? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
And then 10, I gotta put 5 over here. 5, 5. If you count every single square there, that's where you're gonna get that 50, right? Because it's gonna be 5, 10. Like we can count all these at once. Oh, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 30, 40, 45, 50, right?
Yeah.
But let's say it wasn't like this. Let's say it was this green triangle. You can see that this green triangle takes up only half of that 50, right?
Yes.
But then what if it was instead this blue triangle, right? This blue triangle is not like that green triangle. It's not all up on that one side, but you can still tell that it only takes half of the 50, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, now I understand it like that way better.
Cool. Awesome. So some formulas to take home from this. We'll put that over here. One half base times height. Area of rectangle. Base times height. Perimeter of rectangle equals base plus height plus height. Because you have to count all the way around.
I wrote all of that down.
Perfect.
No, I actually learned way better when you explain to me.
Good. No, just keep practicing with it. I think you'll do great. Have you taken that test before?
No.
Cool. I'll text that over to you. Hope you enjoyed that video of how to answer those 5 ASVAB questions. If you do need more ASVAB help, check me out at gamonaltutors.com or ASVAB Domination. You can find me on YouTube. You can find my podcast, ASVAB Domination, YouTube, Gamonal Tutors. And then if you do want some more help, I do have online courses, and I'm happy to help you guys as much as I can. All right, happy studying, guys.
Thanks for joining us for Mini Quiz Monday by Gamonal Tutors. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone preparing for the ASVAB or any recruiters who can pass it along to future soldiers. For more resources, visit GamonalTutors.com and don't miss our podcast, ASVAB Domination, for deeper insights and success stories. Let's help as many students as possible succeed.